So I have to tell a story about this topic, because when I was invited, I said, okay, I will try to give the classic keynote introductory speech about computational social science and what are the challenges and the pitfall. And I wrote a paper a few years ago on this topic. So the overall idea was to present this work already done. But in the meantime, something happened, because we started working on something completely new, and I decided to take the risk to present today this brand new work, which was never presented before, and I hope you will understand that it is a work in progress. But also appreciate the originality of the approach. Maybe let's see what I'm talking about. It's a joint work also with Nicola Righetti from the University of Vienna and Anna Stanziano, who works with me here in Urbino. So the overall goal of this method we are trying to develop is to design a computational method, a computational approach to measure political parallelism in the online media ecosystem of a certain country. What does it mean, political parallelism? For those of you who are not in the political communication field, basically it's the idea that in certain country there is a strong overlap between the political system and the media system. So think about Italy and think about the case of Berlusconi. You know that Berlusconi is a politician, but you know that he is also owning a number of media in Italy, and this is the kind of parallelism I'm talking about. If you want an example for the US, you can think about the divide between Fox and Republican and CNN and the Democrats. So this is the overall goal. And the study I'm about to present is a case taken from this more broader study, which relies and talk about the Italian election. And more specifically, we will look into the idea of media partisan attention, and I will tell you in a moment what I'm talking about, on campaign topics in the lead up of the 2022 Italian election. So basically, the study is composed by three steps. In the first steps, we estimate the media partisan attention with social media data, and I will describe in a moment the method. Then, and this maybe is it is for sure the newest part. We extensively used OpenAI APIs for running a topic modeling on around 4,000 posts published by 15 prominent Italian media outlets through their Facebook pages during the period of the election, so from when the election was called to the election day. And finally, we put together these two things, so the partisan media attention model and the topic model, basically to estimate the partisan attention devoted to certain topic based on the fact that they've been based on the fact that the posts categorized in that topic have been published by a certain outlet. So let's start with the MPM-PAS, which stands for Multi-Party Media Partisan Attention Score. It's something we have published, and we have designed and validated it for the Italian election in 2018. But actually the method has quite a long story in terms of how long a digital method could be. It all basically started, we know that there are several methods to estimate the partisanship of a certain news outlet. The classic method is that you use surveys. So basically you ask people where they stand in an ideological left to right scale, and then you ask them as well what kind of outlets they consume, and you basically map these two information in order to see the political partisanship of certain news outlet based on the fact that they have been read or consumed by a partisan audience. This method is well known, is a long history. The problem is that with the fragmentation of the media landscape, it becomes increasingly difficult to ask people what kind of outlets they have been exposed to. Sometimes they don't even know because they have been exposed to this content through social media, and they don't really pay attention to the source. Plus, it's impossible to ask them about all the different media sources available today. So you have to restrict it to a very small number of media sources. The computational approach also have been based on the idea of analyzing the text in these news stories and to find a sign of partisanship within this text. This is not the kind of approach we are using. We are using a third approach, which is basically using social media data to estimate the partisanship of a news media outlet. And as I said, this idea already has a quite long story because it was first used by a study that was actually mentioned before already by Bansky, the study which basically attempted to, it was made by researchers inside Facebook with exclusive access to their data. And they, in the context of these studies, they developed a method to estimate the partisanship of a certain news outlet based on the fact that they've been shared by partisan users. And this idea was even explored and developed by Pablo Barbera with his quite famous paper, Birds of the Same Feather Tweet Together. But the overall idea is quite clear, and it was even more clarified by the study done by Faris and colleagues for the 2016 US election, where they actually developed and designed and tested the media partisanship attention score. And what it is all about. The overall idea is that you first classify Twitter user based on their partisanship, which is estimated by the fact that they are retweeting more, I don't know, Trump instead of Hillary Clinton. And once you classify the users on this ideological scale, then you look at what kind of news outlets they are using in their tweets, and you classify the news outlets in turn. What we have done is basically to reuse this logic, but to port it to a multi-party media system, like the Italian one, because the original method worked pretty well on US, but it wasn't designed to work for multi-party system. We also validated this method in the paper that is referenced here against data from a survey. We have done it again for the 2022. We collected around 500,000 retweets of posts made by main political Italian actors. Then we identified 5,000 most active retweeters, and we collected the timeline of these users for the month of the election. From these posts, from these tweets, we extracted 104,000 links. And we used this system to estimate the partisan attention score of around 1,300 domains. But for this study, we focused specifically on the partisan attention score of 15 prominent Italian news outlets, and I will tell you why in a moment. So this is the results, really preliminary results of the principal component analysis, which is the base of the media partisanship attention score. And as you can see, you can't see, we mapped both political parties and media. And what you can infer from this chart is that it is basically representing two dimensions. The first seems to be the classic left to right ideological dimension, where you can see that parties like the League and the Brothers of Italy are on the left, but actually on the right. So the ideological scale is kind of inverted here. And the five-star movement of the Italian left, or the Greens, are on the opposite side. The other dimension seems to catch another property of these parties, which is they divide on a different kind of scale, which we could call the anti-establishment approach. So we can see that the Italexit, which was a very small party that didn't make to the parliament, but it was strongly against the EU, and other kind of parties, including the Communist Party in Italy, which is very, very anti-EU as well. It's on the top of the chart, like the League in some way, and also the five-star movement on the other end. And on the opposite side, on the bottom of the chart, you get more close to the establishment parties. And you can see that even if you are not an expert of the Italian political or media landscape, classic right-wing newspaper like La Verità, Libero Quotidiano, and Il Giornale are actually on the close to the League, and Il Fatto Quotidiano, which is a well-known newspaper close to the five-star movement, is close to the five-star movement, and so on. And this is just the again another view of the principal component analysis, where you can see how the different parties shaped the results for the different newspapers at hand. Let's move to the topic modeling, the second part of the study, which was carried out by collecting posts from 15 Facebook pages of Italian news outlets for a total of around 14,000 posts. So what we have done on this, why it is interesting. First of all, we used the OpenAI API at 3 different levels. This is the first one. At the first one, we trained in the language of OpenAI API, fine-tuned one of their large language model, which is called ADA, in order to build a binary classifier and distinguish between political and non-political posts in our dataset. As you can see, the model achieved quite good performances, and in the end classified 12,000 posts as political. Then we used another endpoint of the API, which basically gives you a document embedding of a certain document you provide to the API. And what you get back is a 1.500 dimensional vector document embedding for each political post. So this is it seems to be on a classic word-to-vector approach, but the important thing here is that you are not actually creating your model and word embedding or document embedding only based on the text you have at hand, but you are, thanks to the fact that you are using a way larger model trained on a significantly higher volume of text, you get vectors which should better represent the semantic of the post. Then we ran a classic k-mean cluster analysis and detected 94 clusters. And here it is the third way we use the OpenAI, which was actually quite fun to do. The overall idea is suggested in the documentation of the OpenAI. So you know that when you run this kind of topic modeling, at a certain point, there is the issue of labeling your clusters. And this issue of labeling the clusters could be sort of outsourced to the Text Da Vinci model, which is the one that stands stands behind ChatGPT. And what you can do is basically to get a sample of the text classified in your cluster and feed this sample of text to the model by asking for a label in a very simple way. For example, in our case, we simply asked, what do these Facebook news posts have in common? Provide a short label. Then we manually reviewed, recoded, and consolidated topic clusters. And this is here the results based on I'm showing only the top 10 clusters / topic detected for sake of simplicity. But what you can see here is that, for example, topics like the campaigning news post about the 5-star movement, or the campaigning news post about Giuseppe Conte, who was the leader of the 5-star movement, actually are close to the 5-star movement vector. On the top right, you can recognize, if you are Italian, a bunch of left-wing parties, from the more extreme, the left, Italian left and Greens, to the more conservative, like Italia Viva and Azione. And you can also see that certain topics have been discussed mainly by outlets which are partisan, which get a lot of partisan attention by this, by the communities, by the like communities of these parties. So, for example, the topic of the abortion right, which was an important topic during the campaign, or sometimes you have event-based topic, like the one related to the spread of the rape video in Piacenza made by Giorgia Meloni. So there was a lot of criticism because she decided to publish this video where the victim was recognizable on her own social media. Also as well, an event-based topic / classes is the controversy over Peppa Pig and the gay adoption. Basically, at a certain point, someone complained that there was an episode of Peppa Pig where a homosexual couple adopt a kid. And that was considered unacceptable by the right. And then there is some other things on the top right corner. On the opposite side, you see that we get things like celebrities against Giorgia Meloni. This was another topic which went through good part of the campaign. Basically, a lot of artists criticize Giorgia Meloni, but actually it is interesting that this topic is more close to the right-wing section of the chart, because it means that the overall criticisms have been used as a way to show how the elite of artists, Italian artists, are against Giorgia Meloni without giving her any kind of chance to explain her idea and so on. So this is the idea of math.
Fabio, you have approximately 3 minutes left.
No problem, no problem. Thanks. This is the overall idea. Let's talk about the what we learned through this process. So first of all, this is something I've already said in part. So what is we know that this kind of approaches of using large language models of transformers, or whatever we can call them, is not new at all. But the big difference here, at least for me, was the possibilities to use an API to query this kind of models. I've done attempts before of using models like BERT before on my own machine, and it was very, very painful under the technical perspective and the computational perspective. In this case, it was absolutely easy. I see a potential democratizing effect of this fact, because a lot of researchers outside the field of the computer science will be enabled by this technology to use these very powerful techniques. And the cost right now is quite affordable. I mean, I think I spent for the whole operation less than $150 US. So it's quite reasonable, even considering the fact that sometimes I spent money just because I was trying out new things. On the method itself, it seems that there is a phase validation, but we are working on a proper validation to be published. And of course, we can also reflect on the fact that maybe political parallelism. Maybe this method works so well in Italy because of the peculiarity of the Italian media/political system. Another interesting thing is that basically you get topics which are related to single events, and you can see them also based on the fact that they tend to occupy a short span of time. So if you look at the date of the first post and the date of the last post classified in a certain cluster, you can sort of study the life cycle of the topic, and those having the shorter life cycle tend to be event based. So the differences between the critics to certain politician, which goes on for the entire campaign, and a single event like the share of the rate video. Finally, we are also thinking about using the common share ratio, which is a metric we used before, and post sentiment to better understand the role played by different partisan community in sharing and commenting these topics. And that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Is there any question? Yes, Padre Lemon.
Hello, thank you for your interesting results, the model presentation. Well, I would like to ask something very technical. after the KNN classification, where you found 92 clusters, if I'm not wrong, did you feed that? Did you feed the cosine distance of the vector of the post to the Adam classifier to then label it as political or not, or have I understood something wrong here?
Yeah, no, basically the process is, first of all, we classify then political versus non-political posts. Then we started using only political posts. And of this political post, we get the embeddings from the OpenAI endpoint, and we run the k-means on these embeddings. I don't know if this is more clear now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question? Fabio, if I'm allowed, I would also like to ask, in case you wanted to repeat this study for a different on a different country, what additional effort would be required?
Yeah, the good part is basically that you won't need almost any additional effort. The only things that you probably will need is to fine tune again ADA model in order to recognize political from non-political posts in different countries. I am pretty sure that it won't work as well for political posts coming from Greece or other. But we actually trained it with 3,000 posts classified, so it's not a huge effort.
Mm-hmm. And there's no language specific component in the approach. It works well independent of the language. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Any other question? Okay, then thank you, Fabio, again, and we will proceed.